Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of LunarCRUSH Live. Today, we've got the guys from Ocean Protocol on here. We got Bruce and Manan, and we're really excited to get them up. But first, we're going to go through a couple of social insights. John, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I just want to say, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching us on Twitter, make sure to follow LunarCRUSH. We have these live streams every week, at least once, and you'll be alerted if when the next one goes live, if you follow us. So with that, super excited to go over Ocean Protocol today. Really, really exciting project here. And overall, over the last year here, we've seen pretty amazing growth here. So, I mean, just over the last 6 months, we can see that there's 545% appreciation in the price. But within that, there's a lot of different community activity going on, which is where we tend to focus. And we see that just the number of mentions themselves. So this is individuals mentioning the ticker Ocean, saying Ocean Protocol, hashtag Ocean Protocol, and any variants of all these things. And we're seeing that volume's just absolutely soared. So if we look at 6 months ago, we see that, you know, on an average day, roughly 330 or so mentions, and we go back all the way up to the high here, and 3,749, and even over the last little bit here, 1,578. So really, really stellar growth across, like, looking at all those mentions. And when you look at the depth of that, so within those posts, and those posts are coming from multiple different channels. This is not just Twitter. This is YouTube, Medium, et cetera, et cetera. And when we look at the conversations within those posts, the engagement, the comments, the retweets, and all of that, that's also really accelerating. And, you know, to the point of the highest point was on November 5th, where there were almost 6 million individual social engagements within all of the comments and discussions going on. We also see that the individual contributors has risen just tremendously. So again, looking at 6 months ago, we were tracking 87 daily contributors, and today we're tracking 768 with the high. Actually, let's go even here. This was recent, 2,299 on November 6th, and we have 2,366 on August 19th. So the individuals posting Ocean Protocol content keeps accelerating. The number of bullish posts is going up. It looks like bearish is pretty high, but that's actually a small number. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to the bearish posts, but the bearish sentiment's certainly soaring. It's going up a lot, 773%. And one last thing to note on the metrics is that the number of shared links. So we actually go through every post that we collect from every source, and we sort of spider the links that are in it. And we check what those links are talking about and what they are. We classify all of that information. And we see that the number of individual links that individuals are posting is also soaring, 2,400%, again, over the last 6 months. So who are the top individuals that are posting here? I just wanted to give them a shout out. We've got Odd Gems being the #1 social influencer, and we calculate that based upon engagement, activity, and following relative to everyone else. So we see Odd Gems as leading the pack. We got Trent McConaughey, which I believe is the CTO of Ocean Protocol, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We got Crypto God John coming in third, and we see Donnie Big Bags. Love his big bag. That's awesome. Donnie Big Bags is #4. Ocean Protocol #5, of course, and Middle Child Pavik and the Trading Tramp. And there we are, LunarCRUSH. And the reason we're there is because we've posted Ocean quite a lot because we've been impressed with the activity. You know, we objectively post every coin out there just based on what we're seeing. And you know, a coin that's seeing this much growth is going to get posted and picked up by us. So, so with that, let's bring our guests in.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Boom, boom, boom. There they are. Bruce, Manan. Thank you guys for being on and doing this. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent. Great to be here.
Good to be here too.
Very, very cool. Thanks for coming on. So the way we usually like to start this is tell us where you are in the world, where, you know, what it's like there. And Bruce, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. I'm in Berlin. This is where I live, and it's all right. It's getting close to winter. Got the winter tires on, but it's a little bit sunny, so everything's good here.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And Manan,
I'm also based in Berlin. So same as Bruce said, right? It's winter is coming. So getting my winter jibes.
Awesome. Yeah, John and I are down here in Laguna Beach, California, and we're in opposite rooms of each other here. So, but we got the sound barriers, we got everything going today. So, no, appreciate you guys coming on here, and we're really excited to kind of learn a little bit more about Ocean and what you guys have been doing. And like John said, we've seen the growth. We started kind of checking out the site and seeing what you guys are up to. And so, maybe Bruce, you could just talk us through just in a simple terms, like what is Ocean Protocol? What do you guys do? What's the mission? And just give us kind of a brief overview of what you guys are working on.
So at the highest level, Ocean Protocol is about unlocking a data economy. That's kind of our moniker. And if you go a little bit deeper into that, it's essentially bringing AI, blockchain, and data together, because right now there's a lot of data that's locked up, whether it's in the social media platforms or even in companies, pharmaceuticals, financial institutions, supply chains. There's a whole bunch of data out there that's not being monetized. And we think our hypothesis is that there's a ton of data that's valuable. It's worth as much as property is, or even companies. And if we can find a way to unlock the data and kickstart that using a version of tokens, blockchain technology, then we can unlock this kind of data economy. And the best part is that we can kind of push the ownership, just like Bitcoin pushes ownership of tokens and value back to people individually holding it. We can push data ownership back to people and have them own it.
No, I think what you guys are working on is important. And even in our business, when we see, think like in marketing, right? When you see things like website hits, when you see things, like growth of the users of your platform, we're seeing, most people are now using ad blockers. They're using Brave, and there's large subsets of people, and there's no value to be had for an advertiser, but it's because the value needs to be pushed back to the user, and the user is the one that should be actually making the money off of their own value. So I think what you guys are working on is really cool. Manan, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your role is at Ocean Protocol and what you're working on there.
So my current role at Ocean Protocol is of growth accelerator. So what is growth means for me is basically it's like combining the product, community, and ecosystem together, right? On gears towards adoption. So I'm working closely with the community and also the community developers to onboard them onto Ocean, and also like spread the message of the Ocean, the core message of the Ocean as well. So yeah, that kind of described my role in summary. But yeah, that's what I'm working on right now.
Very cool. Well, you're doing a great job because the growth is there for sure. Tell us a little bit about the token itself and how that kind of interfaces with what you guys are doing, as far as like how does that interact with a user or a company or a client that's coming in?
Sure, I can jump in on that one. We did a lot of work on the token. In fact, we were one of the early progenitors of this thing called token engineering. So a lot of times when you look at a project, you ask, what's the token for? Why do you need it, etc. And so we put a lot of thought into this. And the number one reason to have a token is that we can have an issuance of tokens to incentivize the network. And what does that mean? That means that you can have kind of network awards that reward people for posting valuable data or for staking on valuable data and providing curation. That was the core reason why we had a token. And the reason why you also don't go on just use Ether, for instance, is because that emission schedule gives a certain amount of customization of the community, particularly for the data economy. So the way we looked at it was, if Bitcoin can be the kind of store of value that rivals gold in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later, and Ethereum is the token that essentially encapsulates the smart contract world, particularly the financialization on blockchain, then Ocean can be the default token for the data economy. And so you can use that for staking, buying and selling goods. You use it for governance, as well as the emission schedule, the mint and burn release, all that sort of stuff. And that gives you that monetary policy, gives you a certain amount of power to help the community get kickstarted.
Very cool. And so what are some of the clients that you guys are working with, or are people coming in individually and signing up and making data available for others? Or does someone need to have a proprietary data set? Can individuals use it to kind of tokenize their own personal data, or is it just anyone that wants to kind of tokenize or sell off their data and get value for it can use it?
So Manan can talk about the different types of people on the marketplace, but I'll give you a cross section of some of the people who've already used the marketplace. So we've had some musicians and producers come on and post their music already. We had a couple of one or two brave souls put up their DNA. And then we've also had social media statistics, retail. We have automotive stuff. Actually, we've had quite a bit of little automotive stuff from some engineer in America who was doing some pretty unique work with gears and stuff that he could sell back that data typically to a GM or something like that. And we have actually a lot of data about crypto, which appeals to our kind of core crypto enthusiast crowd. The enterprises that are looking at doing this, they're doing it in a much more subtle way, kind of off-chain in their own private networks. And so we're working with a few, most of them under NDA. What we have announced is that we're working with Daimler, but there's a couple other ones that they're experimenting with this. Everybody wants to make use of this data, obviously. So we're just working quietly with them on the backside.
I'm really curious on the automotive side. I want to just follow up on that a little bit. So, we keep hearing just how far ahead Tesla is with self-driving cars, and it's kind of it's a silo, and that's a very typical scenario. They're building their own closed ecosystem. Are you finding that automotive is wanting to share their data around self-driving?
Everybody wants to share their data. The demand is there, and just like before Uber, you would never have gotten into a stranger's car, or you would never let a stranger come into your car. People are looking for those rails. They're looking for the trust and the comfort and security to share their data. And they want to monetize it. So it's exactly the same thing as Uber. And with the automotive makers, what happens when they are setting up their data collection services, let's say their Waymos or the Teslas and all that sort of stuff, they all collect different types of data. So that data isn't being standardized. So there's a group in LA right now. It's based, they're called MOBI, the Mobility Open Blockchain Initiative. And they are trying to help set the standard so that this data can start flowing. So you can have data marketplaces, but you can have kind of this flowering of innovation, because we are going to a level 5 autonomous future where all the cars in LA are going to be able to go down the freeway at about 85 miles an hour, about 2 feet apart from each other. But that only happens when we have autonomous cars.
Love it.
Yeah, 85 miles an hour on the 405. Can you imagine?
That would be nice to get back and forth to LA, man. I'm telling you. We were doing that trip last year a little bit. It's gotten a little bit better with traffic now, but man, I mean, you have some days where it was 3 hours. And it's just, there's so much time wasted. And it's like, not only are you getting the time back from speed that you're in the vehicle, but you're getting the time back because you're not driving it.
Exactly.
So just to tail on Bruce's answer regarding the types of data that we see in the marketplaces, right? So as Bruce mentioned, it's like a variety of data, starting from like the normal data and also having music files. So Ocean Market particularly doesn't dictate what kind of data you can publish, right? So if you are an individual, if you are a small startup, if you are a big corporation, anyone can publish their data and monetize from the data, right? And if you see holistically that any type of, let's say, video, music, PDF, or ebook, all is kind of bunch of binary data, right? So anyone can come to Ocean Market and monetize the data they have. So we don't kind of stop them from doing that.
So how does that all come together? How does that work? So I mean, we've got a ton of data. So what would this scenario be? Walk us through how that looks.
Cool. So what you would do is you would go to Ocean Market, www.market.oceanprotocol.com, right? That's one of the markets on Ocean Protocol. And we imagine that in the future, we'll see a ton of marketplaces on Ocean Protocol. So you would go there as a data publisher or a data provider, right? And then what you would do is you will list a bunch of fields because now the data is a binary file, right? Unless someone accesses that or unless someone sees that, they don't know what the data is about. And Ocean Protocol also provides a way to monetize private data, right? So what you would do is you would provide a bunch of metadata about the data, just like you would do if you are selling something on Amazon Marketplace, right? If you're a seller of a smartphone, you will say, hey, the feature of the smartphones are this. It has 3 gigs of RAM. It's white in color, right? It's the manufacturer is Samsung, for example. So you would give all this metadata on the marketplace, and then the cool feature of Ocean V3 that we launched recently is AMM pools, right? It's called data tokens. So what this data token is, it's basically ERC20 token that allows everyone to get a right on the data set. So if you are holding one data token, you have the right to access the data asset, underlying asset, right? So you would basically create this data token, which represents your data set, underlying data set, right? And whoever wants to get access to this data set will purchase a data token from Ocean Market and then redeem that token for the data set. Just like you would buy a coupon for Netflix and basically redeem that coupon for the Netflix subscription, right? So yeah, so this is the basic underlying features of how the Ocean Market works. But it has many more features as well.
So in our scenario, our data is real time. It's live. There's even if there was a data file that was like a dump of data, it's going to constantly change. Where is this data living, and how do you keep real time data updated?
So so when we designed Ocean Protocol, we kept the data ownership in mind, right? So we did not want it to be a data custodial. For us, data ownership is let's say a core feature. So Ocean Protocol, we don't own your data. The data always sits either in your server or in your, let's say, on your premises, right? What you provide to Ocean Protocol is the URL or location of the data, which is, by the way, encrypted, and then the encrypted value is stored in a metadata store. So Ocean Protocol at any point doesn't know where your data lives. So it all happens in a decentralized way, right? You as your data provider would run a provider component of Ocean Protocol, which is basically your digital twin, right? The main job of this provider component is allowing the access to your data. Yeah, so it checks that the payment has been made, certain condition has been satisfied, right? If you are following some compliances about GDPR or CCPA, for example, right? It will check that the user who is requesting the data is located within certain locations. Yeah, so all these checks has been made, and then your provider component will decrypt the URL from the metadata store and provide the access to the data. Yeah. In your case, it's a live data. So basically, you would have, instead of a static file, you would have a dynamic service which gives access to, let's say, WebSocket of your data, right? And you can also lease it for a few hours if you don't want to give it permanently, which is probably what you want.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's the perfect use case for us and our API and our WebSocket. It's and we, right now it's kind of traditional. It's like someone comes in and they can pay for it using Stripe, and it's just it's slow, and then there's contract terms, and it's not, there's a lot that go into that's a lot different. So I think that's really, yeah.
If I could add in there, one of the big advantages of Web3, blockchain technology, where you can interact with smart contracts strictly with an Ethereum address, is that nobody needs to know your identity, number one, and number two, you have full control over your data. You have full control over everything that you put on and how you interact. And that is one huge advantage, because that simplifies the interaction completely. If a condition of a smart contract is met, then you can access the data. If somebody meets the conditions that you set to access your data, then it's automatically done. So right now, you might have data where you have to have all this kind of friction, legal contracts, penalties if some things are violated, all that kind of stuff. There's all this administrative overhead when people try to share data. In a Web3 world, most of that stuff goes away, because the fact that they can access your data, they A, need to have already paid, and B, they need to meet the conditions to access the data. So if you say it must be X type of usage or whatever, all those licensing terms, etc., they're already pre-coded into the smart contract in the terms of access. And the beauty is that you can access people from anywhere on Earth. So they don't, some people might not have visas, they might not have bank accounts, they might not have PayPal, all this kind of stuff. All that goes away. If they have Ocean token from anywhere, from any of the 35 exchanges that make Ocean accessible, they can access your data. And that is one of the big advantages of a Web3 world. You have global distribution from day one.
Yeah, and the interface of, I mean, when you mentioned 23andMe, they changed their terms, right? Like they changed it so they, they're like, oh, it's all private, and they had my data, and then now they're like, well, we're going to sell it. It's going to be anonymous, but we're going to sell it. It's like, well, I don't want that, but it's too late, right? And so it's like there's a protection there for a consumer, because if they would have ran through Ocean Protocol, I would have now had like autonomy over my data set to say, yes, you can use my data set, but whenever I want to turn it off, I can turn it off. And exactly. I think that's like the very cool part of being the consumer and the protection that you get.
And not only that, you get paid if your data is used, right? So
what do you know?
You're making the money.
The best part.
Well.
Which is fair, because if you wanted to use your data, I mean, there's so many other uses. Like if someone's licensing my data and it's anonymous to a degree, like, can I like then turn around, if I'm getting paid, I can use that to pay for my health insurance passively, or I can use that to pay for any sort of health related costs passively, versus it just being taken and used. I mean, I just think of things like, even like, clinical trials. I don't even know how big that market is. It's massive. And just their mining for data on who to involve in clinical trials, that is a massive business, just that alone. And people don't see anything out of that. And it's just a huge wasted expense.
Yeah, in terms of data, most people think about it from an advertising perspective. So Facebook, what they earn $7 profit per user. That's not really going to move the needle for most people in a meaningful fashion. But if you take advertising data across all the different platforms, you take, for instance, the clinical data, so genetic type of information where it's anonymized, but they can still pick you out because you have the configuration they need to test out a new drug. You take the geolocation data, your driving behavior data, you add all that up together, that could be thousands of dollars a month potentially for people if the tools are available for them to share it. And as you said, Joe, to take away that consent anytime they want. That gives people comfort, safety, and security.
Yeah, I think that could be kind of the next step in adoption for people they're just so worried about privacy, right? But they also don't realize kind of the plethora of data that they have that they can monetize on their own. And so kind of matching those and getting people to understand that, I think, is going to be, a big piece of what you guys are doing. And so how do you guys think about different markets to go after? Like you're saying, there's automotive, there's genetics, there's all these places. You have, finite team, we all have finite, capital to spend. How do you decide which kind of way to steer the business right now?
This is the model of Ethereum. We know that there's a problem. We bring the tools, the basic infrastructure, and then the best thing that can happen is we have 1,000 different marketplaces. And what we mean by that is across every vertical, you have entrepreneurs who say, if I make a specific music market, I can take away that aspect of the data market. If, for instance, LunarCRUSH goes and says, we'll take the social engagement for all crypto projects and then we'll expand outwards to every other project on Earth, then you create your own market specifically for that. And that is how we win one by one as a community. Ocean Protocol as an organization, we intend to remain small. At times the Ethereum Foundation was 10 people. I think they're at 30 now. They haven't grown to scale with their community. What they've done is let the community scale with the protocol. And Manan actually has a special role there because he works with the startups to help them get on this path. So we have a couple of startups in the hopper who are looking to build separate marketplaces for specific needs, as well as developers. And so that is how you get ground up support, like Ethereum, like many of these other projects. If you can get developers incentivized to build new markets on top of the Ocean technology, we're happy if the Ocean market becomes one out of 1,000 marketplaces, because that means we have a healthy community.
Yep, community is everything. That's all we talk about. Without community, there is no crypto. So with that accelerator, are you funding some of these small companies? Are you just giving them some grant money to say, hey, get up and running? And like, how does that process work?
We're working that through right now. So we definitely have different grants programs. So we start out with, smaller grants where we might just gift to people. If they've been doing work in the community, we might just grant them that. Then we have this program called the Data Economy Challenge. That's where we have $50,000 under 20 prizes. We have some bonus prizes for integrations with some of the other projects and bigger names. And from there, we're going to get a group of developers. For instance, we ran this Data Economy Challenge last year. We had 180 submissions. And of those submissions, there's quite a few of them who carried over to being active community members now. So if we run this Data Economy Challenge over and over and over again, we should have a community of thousands of developers sooner rather than later. And then specific to startups who want to incubate their company, we have this program called Shipyard Program. And that's where we throw in a little bit more money and we get them up to a stage where they're fundable by a VC. Because if it's a viable company, there's no doubt that a VC is going to want on that as well. So we get them up to the point where they can do that. We take no equity. We just want to get the community started, and then we're pretty happy.
Wow. Cool. So it's like paper napkin to like potentially like Series Seed or pre-seed.
Exactly.
And no equity. You guys don't say anything. It's all just to get the ecosystem going.
No, we don't want it. I mean, the whole point is that the Ocean Foundation eventually disappears. I don't know when that is in the future, but we built this protocol so that people could port their data, take their data anywhere. They could use the smart contracts to define how people take their data, buy their data, and all that sort of stuff. We don't want to be. We never want Ocean to be itself an intermediary, ever.
Got it. What are some of the companies that, like some of the, like maybe you guys can tell us some of the like the companies from, or the projects from the accelerator that got you guys excited, that did roll over, that are still working it? You know, Manan, I don't know, you said you're working on the accelerator. Are there any companies there that got you excited that you guys are looking at?
There are actually a bunch of them. I think I'm not going to name the name now, but I think in the coming days you will see.
Yeah, you don't want to get too biased.
Yeah, some announcement is going to be made, and yeah, we're very excited about them. And yeah, they have a bunch to offer, and yeah, let's see where it goes.
Cool. I'd love to switch the conversation back to the marketing side a little bit. You know, showing some of those metrics earlier that we were looking at. You know, what are some of the strategies you have in place? What is the reason for all of that growth?
You know, we went through a pretty deep valley. We survived the crypto winter. And in the valley of the crypto winter, this is for us, July all the way till December, we were at 2 cents. I think we're now at about 52 right now. We had a core group of people who had been the initial contributors. Most of them were down 70 to 80%. But we had a couple of new people who came in who were, I guess they were just entering the space. Some of these crypto influencers that you named, they were just entering the space and they got in at that price. And they believed in the vision and they started supporting the project. That's been great. We've had a kind of core group of developers, a core group of contributors, and then this really tight group of people who they called themselves the Ocean Navy. And they've been promoting this, and so I'm when you put up the numbers that we went up from about 80 conversations a day to about 700, I'm pretty sure that most of the 80 conversations a day before was the Ocean Navy, and now that's grown because of kind of the progress, the acknowledgement of the external world of the progress of Ocean, a few good listings, all that sort of stuff, and now we have, I guess, a 10x in terms of the conversations. We're a little bit surprised ourselves, but what we realized in the valley of the crypto winter was focus on the product, focus on telling the community what we're doing in a transparent way, try to put the content out as the highest quality possible, and let them discover that. And we're just going to keep plugging away at the tech, and it seems to have paid off.
And where you're posting, or where these conversations are happening, obviously there's a ton on Twitter. We keep seeing that. Are there any channels that your team's focused on?
We focus on Twitter, LinkedIn. We had Discord now, and we had our own kind of little group for developers only. We didn't really look at Reddit as much. We didn't look at any of the other like YouTube and that type of thing.
We have Telegram. Yeah.
Sorry, Telegram. Telegram's obviously huge. We just tried to maintain and manage that one over time, and yeah, that's it pretty much. Twitter and Telegram are the two big ones, I'd say.
And so your team, who do you have managing all of that? How big is your social team?
We got 2 people.
2 people. Yep.
2 people, and then we have some community members. So the actual core Ocean team is 10 people, and half of them are developers, and then we have 2 people on communications, and then what they do is they work with others around the world, because we don't have the local knowledge like in, let's say, Japan or Korea or China. So we work with some others to help us, and what they do is they take the material that we create, the core stuff, the tip of the spear, and then they translate it into the local languages, and then they get it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, isn't it? I mean, I don't think we even realized on our end how many different countries would be accessing our site, and it's a total challenge for us. But yeah, to deal with, you know, all the time zones of the world and all of the countries of the world, and it just gets more and more intense, doesn't it? It's pretty difficult to manage.
Yeah, we're pretty impressed. I mean, I think Manan had some details from the last Data Economy Challenge, but we had submissions from 50 different cities. It was just fantastic. I don't know, Manan, if you wanted to jump in with how the types of people that are engaging with Ocean.
Yeah, so I think it was like from 5 continents. Yeah, and these were like the people we never reached out before, right? So these were the communities where we never focused on earlier. So this was the first time we realized that the Ocean had such a global outreach, right? And that was very exciting for us, and it kind of rejuvenated, right? So it was very refreshing for us, and we saw whopping like 180 submissions. And
Wow.
as Bruce mentioned, some of them are now very actively involved in the community, and also like building apps on Ocean. Like they have continued building apps on Ocean and then helping us as well. And as Bruce mentioned, right, there are only 2 people managing the social channels. So I also want to give a big shout out to our community. Our community is also a part self-managed, right? So they are very. We are let's say blessed with amazing community. There are very less, you see, let's say bad actors in the community, if you call them like that. And community has been very supportive from the very beginning, and yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, we just let you know, we had completely community initiated and run. We have this thing called Ocean Academy. I think it's 23 modules talking about blockchain, crypto, and unlocking your data. We had the crypto enthusiasts who call themselves the Ocean Navy. We have this developers forum who kind of self-organized, and then we have ambassadors, a couple hundred around the world. And so it's, as well as we have some advisors. We have about 30 advisors, and it's mostly, they just come in and say, okay, we can do this, we can do that. And that's the dynamic we want, because we're such a small team. And our job is to deploy resources to make sure that they have what they need to be successful, talk about the Ocean, and spread the word fundamentally.
Yeah, how do you incentivize these folks, like these ambassadors? I mean, did they win a little contest or something, and then are they just buying Ocean on their own and they're saying, hey, I want to get involved?
It's a little bit of everything. So we had we had about 10,000 people buy in at the ICO kind of phases. A core group of them were data scientists, AI researchers, and they believed in it. So not only were they buying the token, they're crypto savvy, but they were also jumping in saying, okay, we could help with here, help with that. And many of them actually do manage Telegram channels themselves. So what Manan was talking about, they self-police. They say, okay, look, we're not going to talk about but we're not going to have like objectionable content. We're not going to blow the lid on the team in any way. If there's what do you call it? If there's stuff going on, you see it. They actually talk about, hey guys, we're not, that's not something we should be talking about in general. Let's talk about this because this is what's important, and they keep that agenda going. And so across the board, we have kind of a community that lives the values of the Ocean Protocol, or what we hope to be. Over time, let's see how it develops and grows as the community does grow also. And but we're really excited already with how well the community has formed around the project and supported the team as well as supported themselves. Just to let you know, we released the Ocean Market about 4 weeks ago. We had 30,000 uniques on there already, way more than we expected. And we already have about 6 or 7 projects that could be viable businesses on top of it. And like 3 or 4 of them formed like in the first week Ocean Market was released. So that gives us great hope that there are more viable businesses that are going to form on top of the Ocean Protocol technology.
Congrats. No, that's amazing. No, it's interesting. It's whenever there's a nickname that goes along with a token, you know that they have like a very like hardcore following. I mean, we had a company like Safe Haven and their ticker is SHA. And so they were calling them like shamans, right? All the people kind of like Ocean Navy. And it's, I mean, this is more of like a thought than a question for you guys is, you know, I just think about like someone like an Airbnb, right? Like the Airbnb doesn't have like a Telegram channel with people that are super passionate around the world that are working on their own time to create something better. And we only see this in the crypto community. We're only seeing this with people, and whether they purchase their own tokens or they get so excited. I mean, why do you guys think that is? And that's open for anyone, even you, John. I know we talk about this sometimes, but it's like, why do we think, why is this happening in crypto? And are we living in the future?
So if you ask my opinion, I think it's a mix of a lot of things, right? So crypto not only is open source, right, and accessible to everyone. There is no, let's say, there is no centralization, right? There is no one on the top saying that you can't do this or you can only do this, right? So there is no opinionated authority there. And also crypto brings something unique, that is incentives, right? So if you do something good, if you make something valuable in the community, right, you get incentivized, not only in terms of like, dollar terms, but also on followers and also people supporting you and your product there, right? So I think this kind of brings a kind of stickiness and also a sense of community around you, which kind of gives the sense of belonging to some community, right? And I think that's what the power of crypto is.
Yeah, if I could jump in quick.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, if I could jump in. So there's like the macro and then there's the more micro view. So the macro view is crypto is the first general purpose technology that's globally accessible. It's one of the very first kind of global tech. So electricity was pioneered probably somewhere like in Paris or Germany or what have you. The railways were, like you have specific technologies that were pioneered in specific locations. Computers and the internet, Silicon Valley, financial system in New York, that type of thing. And crypto is the first one where we as a globe are growing together. And so you could be a kid in Ulaanbaatar, you could be in Nigeria, you could be in Russia, and anywhere in America, and all you need is an internet connection, and you can set up your MyCrypto account or whatever, your MetaMask, and you can start playing on that. That's the global thing. It's so inclusive, this space, and I think that allows people who may not have formerly had a chance to interact with, let's say, Silicon Valley type of startups to interact with Silicon Valley type startups that are forming around the world. At the micro level, you look at people, particularly in our community, who started out believing in the project. Many of them have now become kind of opinion leaders, key opinion leaders for other networks as well. They're now talking about other projects that they found, and that grows itself. So these people, they get a lot of credibility. They are kind of known amongst the community of being able to find kind of gems, good projects, reputable projects, serious projects, all that sort of stuff. And so that, I would say that that's the macro and the micro view. You have this globally accessible, open source technology that's being developed in front of our eyes where everybody can participate. And you have people who, just like the YouTubers who carve out their own like van life or whatever you call that, like all these different niches and subgroups and all this fun stuff that's happening. You can do this also for crypto projects, and it's all along that spectrum.
Well said.
You want me to answer, Joe?
I want your opinion too. Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, I kind of, it's interesting with like, I'll take my background. I've worked with ad agencies and digital agencies for some huge brands for 15 years. And I've seen this transition go from like brand out, like I'm going to create this brand communication and push it out and everyone's going to listen to me. And, you know, call it 10 years or so, people stopped listening, yet brands are still pushing messages out, right? They're like, they haven't changed. And you have individuals that sort of started running social media, big brands still having a hard time with that. And this is sort of like almost a maturity thing. It's like the next step here is that now those individuals, as opposed to just talking, they're forming social communities and social businesses and social economies. And what's also interesting is that generates a ton of data, doesn't it? And so when we get to this point of like here we are, and now these economies known as crypto projects are delivering, and they're building this further and further along. Here we are in 2020. And it just seems, you know, it's interesting. I was looking at, like, for example, we call it a correlation rank, which is tracking social activity relative to price. Well, the Ocean Protocol correlation rank has been over 4 out of 5 for quite a lot of the last month here. So when you see people talking and you see the price performance, it's almost like there's this natural fit of like, I'm going to be vested mentally into this thing. And that's going to generate upward movement in price versus, you know, if there's no community, you're not going to get that. And the projects kind of sort of fizzle out. So I think it's interesting to just say that like the correlation between social activity and price is extremely high with you guys. And, you know, that's just where we're at.
Awesome. Thank you for tracking it.
All good answers. No, appreciate that. Yeah, it's a, like you were saying, Bruce, it's, you know, something that we saw very early on was how global this industry and this space really is. And, you know, I think like right now we're still waiting for the only country that someone's not come on our site is from Greenland. And so if someone from Greenland is out there, please visit LunarCRUSH.com so we can just get this map, because it just looks huge on the map, but it's like there's not that many people there. But I think it's just how global this space really is, and how, you know, I imagine, you know, we're all, you know, I mean, for you guys, you're building a company in public with investors that you have from day one, or for people that are invested in what you're doing from day one. And it's almost like doing like a crowdsourced investment round very, very early on and building that in public. And so everything that the good and the bad that comes along with that is really interesting. But I think that transparency, like what you guys spoke with from the beginning, is what makes that, separates the good projects from the bad projects, is being transparent, putting your face out there and working hard to do that.
Yeah, I think Fred Wilson from Union Square Ventures in New York once said that when you do a crypto project, you are trying to find product market fit. You're doing fundraising and building a community, like I don't know, like, you know, like anybody who's just trying to build a community from scratch. And you're a public company because you have to abide by kind of like the financial laws and the transparency and reporting requirements that everybody expects. And so a crypto project apparently is a little bit harder than even a regular startup.
Yep, 100%. Just imagine going public on day one. It's like, well, I don't even know. I got to get like a couple developers. Like, I don't know what's going on. And yet you have to answer to like 1,000 investors at the same time. But it also shows the difference in the kind of, you know, the echelon of the entrepreneur and the people that want to dive into this space and actually go launch something, because it's very difficult. And so in order to, you know, to go after that, you got to be, you know, partially kind of crazy, but, you know, I think we're all sharing the same crazy, and I think that's the important part about all of this. And I stole that from my friend Tyler Hayes, who says you got to share the crazy. So we do have a couple of questions in here that we should have you guys answer. And I think it's mostly when moon is I think are some of the questions that people
this one's good here. Benjamin from Benjamin. Benjamin Richard says, we've seen net improvement on the Ocean market since the introduction of the purgatory. Do you have an approximate timeline when it will go out of beta and in full launch?
So beta, Google Mail was in beta for I don't know how many years, quite a few. We don't intend to go that long, but we do want to make sure that the Ocean market has time to mature and gel. So what we've done is we got a ton of feedback from the community. Thank you very much. We had 30,000 people come onto the website, and we had a ton of feedback. So we've been fixing a lot of the things that might have kind of caused problems, right? So there are scams, rug pulls, IP infringements, objectionable content, and misaligned incentives between publishers, stakers, and users, all that sort of stuff. Not enough emphasis on consumption, that type of thing. So we are going to be rolling out a new design in the next few months that fixes a lot of these problems, and we're now testing it. We have actually we built our own simulator tool. That's Trent McConaughey, he's CTO. He used to build simulators to push AI forward. In fact, everything you use right now is functioning so fast because of his software that most of the world buys. And so we're actually simulating the new token dynamics with the fixes before we release them. And so we're going to have the full audit to make sure that we use Certic. They're a pretty good outfit that does this, make sure there's no holes. We all hear about hacks on crypto projects, so we don't want that to happen to people's data or their tokens. But we're hoping to get something out in early next year that is going to be a lot more stable. I can't guarantee that the market won't come out of beta, because maybe there's new learnings once you guys all jump on top of it. But we're pretty happy with the pace that the team is moving to fix all these things, as well as do a complete kind of re-architecture of the Ocean market to make sure the incentives are good for everybody.
I got a question to follow up on it, because I watched your guys' video on YouTube about Ocean Market, and I think it was like Trent going through it, and it was like 16 minutes long, and watched it. It's very impressive, and it dawned on me that there's so many micro interactions that you have to think through, whether it's connecting your MetaMask wallet, whether it's a confirmation, like all these different steps. How do you guys view the user experience side of your business, and how do you constantly optimize around the feedback that you're getting?
Yeah, so the new design is going to have 2 clicks, 2 clicks before, 2 clicks after, as far as I understand. So it's you always try to minimize that. Web3, you still, no matter what, you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, I need some ETH, go buy ETH, and then even onboarding into exchange to get some ETH sometimes is hard. Then you can say, okay, now you have to take control of your wallets. Okay, I need a Trezor or Ledger. Then you need to get MetaMask. Then you need to then you can finally play. So, we saw this graphic where back in the early 90s, to set your internet up, you had to take 50 steps to get your modem connected to the internet. And I remember that because I actually did that. Huge pain. Crypto 2 years ago felt like that. And now we're getting closer and closer to that seamless experience where you can just plug in whatever, a dongle, and you have your identity and you're ready to go. It'll take a little while, but we think a lot about that. We have an amazing kind of UX team, Matthias and Mihai. They've tried to simplify things as much. So for instance, the naming of the data sets, it's from a pre-loaded list of description word plus a noun, and then you get like this, radical turkey 24, that kind of thing. And then so radtur 24 is the short name. When you enter in your data set or you inject some liquidity, there's a nice little explosion of like confetti and stuff. There's all these little things, little Easter eggs that we gave, and I'm really proud of the team for thinking about these things and to try to put the user experience first. But it will be janky. Like Web3 is kind of janky no matter how you work, because the underlying smart contracts, for instance, congestion on the network. If you have a timeout, these types of things, these are just things that we can't avoid. Transaction doesn't go through, causes problems with smart contracts. People have to redo the re-inject liquidity, but then that causes problems elsewhere, this type of thing. So we're just going to have to get better over time.
Also, Ocean Market actually has a lot of moving parts underneath, right? So imagine there is a Uniswap or balancer pool, and on top of that, you create the whole layer of data, right? And there is multiple dynamics into play, right? So Ocean Market not only offers fixed price, but also dynamic price. The fixed price is normal e-commerce application, you can understand, right? Amazon, you pay by credit card, and then you get the whatever goods that you're purchasing. That's the fixed price. But there's also dynamic pricing that is determined by an AMM pool of balancer, right? That's a totally moving part, and then there is an Ocean Market sitting on top of it. So it's already a lot of complicated tax underneath, but yeah, we try to make it look very simple on top. And as Bruce mentioned, right?
Yeah, it's also new terminology. It's new mental models too in terms of how you price data. So one of the most interesting aspects of the market is the dynamic pricing, where there's a real-time price for that data based on the amount of liquidity. So you have this duality of this data token is both an access token plus the market prices it in real time. And when we first released the Ocean market, it took about 3 or 4 days before the price would kind of settle down into, somewhat of a happy medium kind of thing. Nowadays, it happens in the first couple of hours. So the community gets right on there. There's ups and downs, ups and downs, but that moderates very, very quickly within 2 hours. And then that price stays pretty constant. And so I think that there's a new model, just like what you guys are doing in terms of analyzing social engagement to identify the next projects and how well they're doing. Ocean Market is now helping the community find new ways to price data very quickly. So by the time we get out of beta, whenever that is, I expect that there'll be maybe a dozen companies that are going to be very good at pricing data, and the market will be very sophisticated already because they've been trained. Just like the crypto crowd has trained probably 5 million people about trading strategies, technical analysis that you would never have considered even thinking about. And now everybody understands technical analysis in a way that was very, very limited to a Wall Street, London, Tokyo crowd. We're going to do the same with data. So it's new mental models, new terminology, and kind of a new way of doing things.
Yeah, when you go out there, it's so interesting thinking like as a new product, you're trying to find product market fit, right? And the number one discussion that you have after you build something is, well, what's it cost, right? And there's people thinking around like, well, you can make it more expensive and people think it's more valuable, and like the psychology behind that, and like you got to throw. And so basically you're just literally throwing shit at the wall and trying to figure out what sticks for a price point. But if you put it out to the market's going to decide that for you. How valuable truly is your data? But there's been no way to do that until now. And so like just hearing you guys talk about them, like now my brain's exploding a little bit, because I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, like why wouldn't you let the market decide what the price of the data is or your service?
Yeah, especially if you don't know what the value is. Like if you've been selling it for $10,000 to somebody like a Reuters or Bloomberg or what have you, go ahead, great business model. But for what you guys are doing, for instance, what's the value of your data? Of course, you have an API subscription service, what have you, where people can tap into that, or teams who want to understand this stuff. But maybe you put some of your data out there. You have a fixed price tier where you can just say, just take this data, you can buy it, it's static, go ahead. Or you have the flowing streaming data where you say, okay, market's going to price it, and we're happy to sell it at whatever price the market decides. And then who knows? Maybe you get like the government authorities like FinCEN taking a look at this. Hey, we'll buy this data because we need to understand what's going on here. Maybe you get large companies buying this data because they're okay. Well, marketing agencies, ad agencies, they're like, well, this is a new area, so let's learn about this. So you open up the distribution channel where you might not have the sales capacity to deal with this stuff.
And how do you migrate people like from data sets that people are already ingesting kind of the traditional way? Like how does the company themselves then have to migrate these people onto the new service?
I think it's going to be like any distribution. You're going to have different pricing for different groups. So your established group, if there's no reason for them not to use your API right now, they're fine. Bloomberg's not going to turn away $10,000 a month for their terminals. But if they can get some other people who are going to buy data, maybe at a lower price point with less fidelity, less granularity, all that kind of stuff. If I'm Bloomberg, that's free money. It's the same data. So why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you sell it to universities or something in a specific kind of area? So maybe a Bloomberg crypto data, and you sell that subscription for $50 a month. There's a ton of traders in the world now. If you can get out of the 5 million traders, you can get 10% of them. I mean, that's a great business also.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be having more conversations on this, you guys. So we'll see.
Awesome.
We're coming up to the time. John, do you want to pick one more question? Did you see anything else that you?
This Benjamin Richards has some really good stuff, but let's see if we can pull something out here. How long, in terms of weeks or months, one of those big new partners can be announced? Do you have anything to announce today?
When our NDA is expiring, they're just going right in.
Yeah.
I love it. The community is so direct. It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we're working on that. We always give the right to our client to make these announcements and set the timeline. So when they're ready, we're ready.
Makes sense.
Maybe
And I
there's
just
time
want
for
to
one
throw this
more.
out because I think this one's really interesting. It's Benjamin Richards again. We are seeing data tokens leave the pools and go into wallets as people start to understand data as a tradable asset. That has me thinking. I mean, is there an exchange that starts to get built out of these data tokens? Like, how does this all come together?
So we've already been seeing that over the weekend. Trent McConaughey tweeted out, who's going to be the first to put 8 data tokens into a pool and set up the first kind of data economy index. Just like Airbnb made it so easy for people to just put their property on, you pay $100 for a professional photographer, you stage it, it's all good. To be a hotelier, it doesn't cost $100,000 room anymore. You already got the room. You just need to invest about $1,000 and you're there. We're going to see the same with data. So with Ocean Protocol, not only are you going to be able to turn latent data assets into something you can sell, you can get a real-time price on, people are going to be able to bundle data sets that are particularly valuable together to have kind of like a blue chip set of data sets. And all of a sudden you have a mutual fund. You got an index fund of data immediately.
Data fund.
It extends. And the beauty is we're built on top of all the great stuff that DeFi is building. We don't want to recreate anything. We are such a small team. We're going to focus on the smart contracts. We're going to have a reference marketplace, which is the Ocean marketplace currently. As we said, that code is available for anybody. Copy it, use it, create your own marketplace. That will make us very happy. And then on top of that is the DeFi tools. Everything, lending, collateral, securitization, index funds, automated market makers, all of that is out of the box.
Wow.
So there is one new trend that we are like recently seeing in the market. So we started with the balancer because balancer provides different weighting mechanisms for us to experiment with on Ocean market. But recently, some of the stakers, let's say, or community who is taking on the data sets, are taking out the data tokens and putting in the Uniswap pools, right? Creating the Uniswap pools. So now you have 2 pools, balancer pool and Uniswap pool, trading the same assets, and then that creates also the arbitrage opportunities, right? So this is basically making of the DeFi market in the very early stages. There was Uniswap exchange, and then Balancer came in, and then there was Ocean on Uniswap, Ocean on Balancer, and there is a price difference, and it creates the arbitrage opportunities. So same way, I think data tokens will also play a part into DeFi space, creating lots of opportunities for people. And as it is an ERC20 token, people can use it in all the DeFi existing DeFi tools. Like it can be a landing protocol. Yep.
Sorry, data hunting is going to be a profession, right? Hunting data, bundling it together, investing in crypto, in data, all that. It's going to be a profession in the future. I guarantee you.
No, it's a great way to end and a great way to kind of reinforce that you guys are across all markets, right? And it's providing the infrastructure to make that happen. So Bruce, Manan, John, thank you guys. This was super fun. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for everyone that was in the comments, all the questions. We're going to have to do this again here once you guys, and we'll get these announcements out there too. So thank you guys again.
Awesome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.